Control so far has assumed the pressure on the system comes from inside it. Load, error, drift, a limit set too loosely. A more deliberate pressure comes from people who understand that an agent with authority is worth attacking precisely because it can act. An autonomous agent is not only a system that can fail, it is a system that can be turned, and the same authority that makes it useful is what makes it worth turning. Traditional security works to keep data and systems away from people who should not reach them. An agentic system adds something those defenses were not built for. A privileged actor that takes in instructions, reasons over content it did not write, and then acts inside the enterprise with real authority. The exposure is no longer only the data and the perimeter around it. It is the agent's reasoning and the inputs that shape it. Whoever can influence what the agent reads can influence what the agent does. The clearest case is an instruction hidden in the material the agent processes. An agent working through a document, an email, a web page, or a customer message is reading content an outsider may have authored. If that content can carry instructions the agent treats as its own, the attacker does not have to break into anything. They get the agent to misuse the access it already holds. The credential stays exactly where it belongs and is used against its owner. The same logic extends to the sources an agent trusts over time. A reference it retrieves, a knowledge base it draws on, or a tool it calls can be corrupted upstream. An agent reasons over what it is given. So whoever shapes what it is given shapes what it concludes and does. And the threat is not always external. An agent's authority can be abused from inside by someone who learns how to phrase a request so the agent does what it should refuse, or routes an action through the agent to get past a check a person would have applied. Used this way, the agent becomes a path around the very controls the enterprise built for its people. In our example, an agent that drafts and releases responses in a payment dispute treats the customer's letter as evidence to be weighed. That same letter is also an input that shapes how the agent behaves. A carefully worded line buried inside it can be written to act as an instruction rather than a claim, steering the response or the release in the sender's favor. Nothing was breached. The agent did what its inputs told it to do, which is exactly the problem. So an enterprise has to examine its agents from the attacker's side, not only the builder's. At the governance level, the question is plain. Has the institution deliberately tried to make its own agent act against it? And what did the attempt reveal? That is what red teaming means here. And it is assurance a board or a regulator can ask to see. Evidence that the enterprise has probed its agents the way an adversary would, found the places where authority can be turned, and either closed those paths or accepted them knowingly. A security claim that rests on the absence of a known incident is not assurance. It is the absence of news. The posture that follows is to treat every capable agent as a privileged actor that can be manipulated and to govern it as one. Limit what an untrusted input is allowed to cause, keep the authority to act separate from the content being processed, and assume any source the agent trusts is a route an attacker will eventually try to reach. Knowing an agent can be turned is not the same as being ready for the moment it is. When an agent is suspected of acting against the enterprise, the instinct trained by ordinary incident response is to understand the problem first and act once the picture is clear. With a system that acts at speed, that order has to be reversed. A person caught doing the wrong thing stops when challenged. An agent does not pause to be questioned. It continues at the same rate until something stops it. Every minute spent confirming exactly what has gone wrong is a minute the agent spends doing more of it. So control under attack means moving on suspicion to limit harm and completing the diagnosis afterwards. Control under attack runs in a particular order and the explanation comes last. Contain the agent's reach, cutting it off from the systems and authorities through which it can do harm, so the blast radius narrows before the cause is known. Halt further action. Preserve the record, because a panicked shutdown that wipes the trail trades one loss for another, and that same evidence trail is what later makes both recovery and explanation possible. Recover the business process, because the work does not stop being needed just because the agent has been removed from it. Customers are still waiting and payments are still due, so the service is carried on through a manual or constrained path rather than simply switched off. Only then complete the full diagnosis and the account of what occurred. This only holds if someone is authorized to set it in motion on suspicion before the case is proven. If containment needs the same approval as a permanent change, it arrives after the damage. The authority to contain has to be granted in advance, exercisable quickly, and built to be reversible, so acting early carries little penalty while waiting carries the real exposure. Containing a healthy agent by mistake costs some delay. Leaving a compromised one running costs whatever it does next, and it keeps doing it. In our example, if Mithras Bank's release agent begins approving payments that fit a pattern no rule sanctioned, the operations risk owner can isolate it from the payment rails and route the queue back to manual review at once before anyone knows whether the cause is an attack, a corrupted reference, or an internal fault. The queue keeps moving by hand. The record is kept intact. The explanation is assembled later when the harm is no longer growing. All of this still rests on a person placed to notice, decide, and act in time. Whether that oversight is genuine or only nominal is the question we take up next.